The autumn wind is a raider, pillaging just for fun. He'll knock you round and upside down and laugh when he's conquered and won.
Convey what's going on. Today we waived Damon Arnette. Very painful decision. We spent significant time, effort, and resources trying to help him in all facets of his life. There have been a series of bad decisions over the last year or so, but we cannot stand for the video of Damon with a gun threatening to take a life. The content was unacceptable, contrary to our values, and our owner, Mark Davis, has been very clear and very consistent that this is not how we will conduct ourselves in this community. The bottom line, the Raiders will not tolerate this type of behavior. On a personal note, I've talked to Damon, his dad, a couple others in his life. From my perspective, he's a very talented young man with a good heart. If he cleans up his life, I know he can make a living in the NFL, but not now with the Raiders.
Raider Nation, ahoy, this is your captain speaking, Raider Nation Jason. And I'm back again, and it just doesn't seem like we have any good news in these past couple of months other than a few wins. But in case you've been living under a rock and you don't pay attention to much Raiders news, or in case you're just waiting for Raider Nation Jason to bring this story out, in case you did, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave a comment. But in case you didn't hear it, Damon Arnette, our former 19th overall pick from the 2020 draft, has been released after the latest video was released, and it's just a string of off-the-field follies and just boneheaded behavior that is just, I guess, been a detriment to the team. I guess is the best way you can put it. Recently, we've been going through it where first there was a car crash. It was reported that he was on the way to a team facility and he tried to make a turn in to the team facility and hit another player. Hit another person. But he hopped out and went anyway, and his friend stayed at the scene to pretty much take the fall for him. You know what I mean? Pretty much. At first, it was said that he was going to just leave his information for him so he can, take care of this sooner, or take care of it at a later point. But his friend tried to take the rap for it. That went tits up. He got in trouble for that. The lady is suing for over $90,000 in damages from everything from panic attacks to pain, just to everything. You know what I mean? So that's the first thing that happened. Secondly, there was a valet attendant. It escapes my mind where he was, but it's a valet attendant who he had lost his ticket for his car at valet. He returned the valet. If any valet person is watching this video, you know how it runs, or if you ever use valet, that ticket is like gold. You know what I mean? That's the ticket till someone can't take your car, your possessions, or your belongings. Arnette couldn't locate his ticket. Valet wasn't going to release his vehicle. Of course, he went off cussing, doing his thing. He ended up spitting in the guy's face. He spit on the attendant, I'd rather say it like that, which is an assault charge. And then recently, the video came out, and there's, it's mind-bogglingly crazy how these young brothers get this money. And I'm not even saying it's about the money, but you all get this status, because regardless of how you felt about him as a player, there's someone from some place looking up to him. Some high school he came from, some neighborhood he used to kick it in. There's someone looking up to these players. And to see things like this, to see the video, I'm not going to show it because I don't believe in showing brothers or showing people at their worst moments, especially with boneheaded behavior like that. But he did something ultra stupid. He posted a video online. All you have to do is go type in Damon Arnette gun. He was threatening somebody. I don't know who the person was or what the situation was surrounding that. But he, drew about 3 firearms. These 2 were rifles. I don't use the term assault rifle because it's not what they are. But he had 2 rifles, looked like a pistol. One was supremely decked out. You know what I mean? So he was just telling somebody to pretty much pull up on him. You know what I mean? If you are not in the community like that, pull up on me means just pretty much come on. Back up all this stuff you're talking. And you know, he was telling the guy that he'd kill him. You know what I mean? He's pretty much going to kill the guy. And Mike Mayock, as you heard before before this show started, a few things that he said. He said, first, this is a painful decision. If you hear what he said we tried to help him in all aspects of his life. This is a kid they drafted that they knew he had character issues, and they drafted him high anyway because of his energy. They say his effort, which didn't equate to a lot in the NFL. But that's either here nor there, because now you're talking about a situation to where this young kid, he's only he's 20-something years old. Like I said, he's fresh into the NFL, fresh out of college, fresh into his professional career, and now it's possibly over, at least right now for the foreseeable future. There may be a time where he cleans himself up and he goes through a few steps in the process as we deem to be worthy in society of coming back to or coming back from. And that's the only thing I can really, you know, it's the only bright side of this for him right now. I mean, football is over. He's been released. And that's pretty much just what it's going to go through right now. Mike Mayock also said that the content was just unacceptable, which I can't agree more. You got to think, you're in a day and age where, you know, everything is under a microscope. Everything is on a camera. Everything is looked at and combed through, you know, with a fine-tooth comb. And to see that you would so recklessly, you know, put business out there in the street like that, regardless if you were having a problem with somebody, whatever the case was, there had to have been a better way to handle it or convey your message or whatever it is you wanted to do, other than a way that it could have been leaked out into social media, you know, or you could have just left the situation. I mean, I don't know the situation, so I'm not quite sure if someone was threatening him or his family. I'm not going to speculate on that, but I'll say that when you hold a position of power, or a position of influence, there's a certain decorum you have to go by. Unfortunately, you know, you can't be like the rest of us, because there are people who are looking at you, looking up to you, and there are people who are looking for you to go and achieve, but there's also people who are looking for you to fail, and you just give them nothing but fuel to go off of. It also doesn't help that last year, Damon Arnette got torched for 78.1% of his pass completions. You know, they were completing almost 80% of their passes against Damon Arnette. If you looked at it even in this season, whenever one of our number ones would go down and he would come into the game, they would immediately target him and almost always have success with it. So it's no wonder that he was moving down the depth chart. Not only he recorded no interceptions, you're talking about being a 19th overall pick in a draft, and you haven't done anything that a cornerback is really touted to do. My good friend Nash, who you've seen on this show, was very critical of him, and he was like, dude, this guy's a 5th round pick talent at best, and that's if that, you know. So people were talking about dealing him and possibly getting something big for him. That's definitely not going to happen right now, since he's been released. He's on his way out. You know, he's on his way to whatever portion of his life he can go forward with. I don't think any charges have been filed for the last incident that's happened with the gun video, or if they can be filed. I'm not quite sure how Nevada gun laws are. If you're in Nevada or you know someone in Nevada and you know how their gun laws work, I would love for you to comment down below and let me know the possibilities of what might happen or the consequences and ramifications of this video coming out. Now, the other 2 incidents, the car crash and the spitting in the face, people are actually seeking restitution in those. So we'll be keeping you up to breast. We'll keeping you abreast and up to date as those situations start to, you know, open themselves up and give us more information on them. But all this is coming days after Henry Ruggs III was arrested on his DUI, resulting in the death of another person. A bevy of charges, who is now facing upward of 46 years in prison. And that's just as sad of a situation as you can possibly have. And like I said, that's for Henry, that's for the young lady who perished, that's for the young lady's dog. I mean, you gotta understand something. This is it for both their families, for their friends, for their children. I know Henry Ruggs had a daughter. I wasn't quite sure about the other lady, but I mean, I look at it, and Ruggs and Arnette were our top 2 picks in that draft. I mean, you throw in Farrell and Teamer, it's possibly the worst draft class the Raiders have ever had. If you could think about a worst draft class, and I mean overall, I want you to comment down below. What do you think was our worst draft class? Let me know. But when I look at, if I remember right, that's who was drafted in that class. But that those picks, if they be Gruden picks or whatever the case was, they were absolutely abysmal. They have not panned out. Ruggs is on his way to doing something until, his unfortunate situation. Damon Arnette was never going to pan out. He was never going to play to the level of a 19th overall pick. It just is what it is. The talent level wasn't there. And now it appears that all the things they said about him, the personality traits and the issues, weren't there as well. Mike Mayock was quoted as saying that now they're going to have to look a lot more closely at who they're drafting and the kind of players they're allowing to not only come play, but to live in Las Vegas. See, people always lose aspect of the point that they're playing football in Las Vegas. They have to live here too. So the things that you go there for vacation on, the fun things and the debauchery that you get into when you go to Las Vegas, they live around this every day. There's no off season for when they, stop playing football. There's no off season from the distractions that go along, which makes it 10 times harder, which begs the question now, are these the problems that the other NFL owners didn't? Is this the reason why nobody wanted them to go to Vegas, or why they didn't want Vegas to have a team? Are these the same old Raiders? The pirate ship we used to run back in the 60s and the 70s, has they come back to haunt us? Have they tried to bring that mystique back? Mike Mayock and Mark Davis are saying that that's an emphatic no. They're not allowing this kind of behavior. Like I said, even without charges being filed, he's been let go. They're sending a message through the locker room that we're not tolerating this kind of crazy behavior. If you're out there and you're not performing and you're not acting uplifting to the team in and out of the uniform, no matter who you are, you have to be dealt. You have to be released. We're trying to change the culture. If you want to start winning, you have to have a winning culture. Part of that comes from changing the attitude in the locker room. You can't have players who have these kind of personality, I'm not saying disorders, but these kind of personality traits that don't mesh well with people who genuinely love to play football. I think our locker room right now is comprised of a lot of younger guys who genuinely love to play the game. Guys like Max Crosby, guys like Derek Carr, Alec Ingold, Josh Jacobs, Hunter Renfrow. These guys love to play football. Jonathan Abram, Trayvon Merry. These guys love what they do. And to see it, have to come to a point to where they're doing more than football on the field. They're having to be mentors. And I guess that's a part of the game. I think that's one of the reasons Derek Carr had such a terrible game Sunday. If you want to blame that on Derek Carr, I think he blames himself in some way, because if you know how Derek Carr is, if you're a fan of this team, you understand how he is. Derek Carr probably takes some kind of responsibility for what happened to Henry Ruggs. That he couldn't save him. He couldn't help him. He couldn't be there in that moment when he made that terrible decision to sway him in another direction and to, I guess, ultimately save his life. I just believe the kind of leader he is, he really believes that he could have done something to stop that. And, that's sad. That's quite a cross to bear, or a burden to bear, if you will. But that's the kind of guy he is. Derek Carr, he's going to love on these guys, even though they've made these horrible mistakes. He's the kind of guy who they say he's a friend in the league. People like to be Derek Carr's friend in the league because he's just genuinely a good person. But if I'm looking in the last 2 months, that's the third high-profile release from our team. The first being John Gruden over the emails and the things that came out in his emails. The second being Henry Ruggs with the terrible situation involving the DUI and the loss of life. And now Damon Arnette. These are two first-round picks, and really a first-round pick of a coach, if you want to look at the way it was structured, with the $10 million per year for 10 years. So it's a lot to process right now. You can tell the way that the Raiders were playing Sunday. It's a lot to process, and it's going to be even more to process this Sunday as we're going into the belly of the beast. A team that, like I predicted with the Chiefs, that even though they won that game ugly, they won the game. These guys are at the 2-game win streak. They're surging upward. They're making that last half creep that I warned us about, that I was worried about that was going to happen. And now we're going to go see who's really the best in the AFC. I think we're going to do this. I think we can recover from this. I think Mike Mayock is going to be able to draft a little bit better now. I think he's going to have a tighter rein on this team. He and Mark Davis have their reputations at stake now. They have the reputations of all of us at stake. The people who go out there and where we wear the gear and we so feverishly and so valiantly, cheer for our team. We defend us. So, just to no end, it's just you know, they're representing us too. And I think now they're starting to understand that with this latest setback, it's been a wild season. For some reason, I'm not giving up. I'm not going to abandon ship. We're still 5-3. A win against the Chiefs and a couple more down the road, we can still make the playoffs. And in the playoffs, I think we can be dangerous. I think we are a seriously good football team. We have a few things that we are missing, but I think that will come along with time, drafting, and with a little bit more meshing. D-Jack, I think he is going to be suited up. I think we might have Desmond Trufant. We actually might have Trayvon Mullen back. I'll try to get that in a later show this week when we talk about our injury report and everything like that. But this wasn't that kind of show. This is a sucky situation. Damon Arnette, I really wish the best for you. I really honestly do. I think that if you clean yourself up and you take the right steps, you can come back and you can play football. You can play, you know, for things that, you know, are beyond football, because some things right now need to matter to you beyond the game. Just like Henry Ruggs, just like John Gruden, things need to matter right now in your life beyond the game. And these are the things that you owe not to the Raider Nation anymore, but to the person you see in the mirror every morning and to the family you walk across when you see them in your life. Raider Nation, like I said, we're still only a half game back behind the Chargers. We have big games coming up. I think we can pull this through, stay on this ship, stay faithful, stay true. And we're going to show the world once and for all that we are a nation. We are the nation. We are the Raider Nation. This is your captain. You take it easy.
When you have great coaches, then after you have great coaches, you get great players. You have a great organization, and you tell them one thing: just win, Damon.